welcome to a pseudo closeout video for the Eagles. I'm actually going to have kind of two, kind of not so welcome. The Eagles finished the season at 4-12 this year, the 2012 season. Of course, you know in the beginning of the season I predicted a little bit of a different outcome. The playoffs have not started. They're actually starting tomorrow. But yeah, the Eagles finished in very poor fashion, and we look like we're turning some things around, might fix some problems, or at least look like we're going to fight to the end and show some heart. Then we had a game like we did against the Giants and losing 42-7. Most notably, the players' reaction to the game, and then quickly after, the next day, the release of Andy Reid, which was kind of brought to my attention. Andy Reid, coach of the Philadelphia Eagles for 14 seasons, and people that are around my age, in their 30s or 20s, he's been our coach for most of our life, or a good chunk of it, of our football life. So pretty significant to see such a successful coach be leaving from the Philadelphia Eagles, and it is now about to set this tone for where the Eagles are going. But first comes the first. A real Eagles fan, you gotta appreciate what Andy Reid brought to the city and what he tried to do for the Philadelphia Eagles. We all know that he did not bring home a Super Bowl victory, but he did turn the corner. I mean, we were 3-13 before we got him. Went 5-11, then started some 11-5 seasons and going to NFC Championship games, and we actually started getting used to winning. And that's kind of, the same kind of position we are in with the Phillies. So when they start losing, we kind of don't remember what that was like, or we would remember get pissed. But we started getting used to winning, or getting deep into the playoffs. And in the last two seasons, we obviously didn't, and that wasn't acceptable. And Jeffrey Lurie, being a man of his word, saying 8-8's not acceptable, and he released him. But more on the positive about Reid, he didn't win the big one. He had some pretty bad 2-minute offense, and it seemed like he tried to force some players into the system that didn't work for the players but worked for Andy Reid. But things you've never seen Andy Reid do was throw his players and his organization underneath the bus. He's always tried to be a stand-up guy. He's always tried to be that umbrella for his players and his organization, and not try to post the blame in other places, and you have to respect that as a person. Yeah, I understand he had very dry, boring press conferences, but when you try to be that umbrella for people, sometimes you have to be dry, because if you were to say anything more, you'd probably be exposing some things that are supposed to stay in-house. I never really felt that the city fully understood Andy Reid, and Andy Reid is going to be Andy Reid, and he's going to be himself, which is a great thing. I just don't think he had the same personality that what Philadelphia is kind of looking for. And in the end, everybody can have whatever personality. I remember people didn't like Charlie Manuel until he won the World Series, so winning always cures all. Cool doing the video now, especially with the playoffs starting tomorrow. Just found out today, though, that Andy Reid will be signing with the Kansas City Chiefs. And Kansas City Chiefs, of course, one of the few teams that did worse than the Eagles this year. They went 2-14. They have the #1 pick in the draft. So, and Andy Reid is going to have a lot of power there, because they also fired the general manager, and Andy Reid's going to have most likely all the control of player personnel, which is what he needs for that situation to try to turn him around. I personally wish him all the luck, except for when he's playing the Eagles, like next year when they come to the Linc, which is kind of cool. So I wonder if I'm going to find myself going to that game. And I personally hope that he gets a warm welcome in Philadelphia, as he deserves, for being a very professional and caring individual for the people that really saw him and knew him. Of course, I got to see him a little more than the average person, not just with my whole ticket thing, but his kids. Yes, and one of them that died. I've known of them since I was in high school as well. They went to high school in this area. And you could see him being a regular person. And people that were around him as a regular person, they start to get to understand him as a coach. So from Philadelphia, I hope you take what you've learned here in Philadelphia, and I hope you have success in Kansas City and do the best with the opportunity out there. Now, as for the Eagles, man, I don't even know where to start, but one reason why I want to have a second video, and I'm going to give it a little bit of time, the Eagles don't have a coach right now, don't have a head coach. And a lot of things are up in the air. I mean, who's going to be our defensive coordinator? A lot of our offensive people are going to be going all over the place. What's going to happen with Michael Vick? And if they keep him past 5 days past the Super Bowl, then they owe him money. So a lot of things might change a whole lot. What are you going to do with Asamoah? He has a big contract that he hasn't played to at all. How are we going to clean house, and who are we going to bring in to Philadelphia to do it? So I'm kind of sitting still. I don't want to close up the year yet. I know I do a closeout video. I want to wait until we have a Super Bowl champion, so we can talk a little bit about that, but also so we potentially have a head coach and a direction for the Philadelphia Eagles, something that we can think about in the offseason and while we wait for the Phillies to start playing. That being said, as an Eagles fan right here, there are 12 teams right now in the playoffs, and the Eagles aren't one of them. One of the most popular questions people ask me, especially knowing that I'm an nutcase Eagles fan, saying, okay, now that the Eagles are out of it, who are you going to root for? And I've always had the same answer, and I'm going to have the same answer until hopefully I'm dead. My team now is the Eagles in 2013. I don't root for other teams like that. Now, I'll root for players, it's great to watch, like Adrian Peterson. It's great to watch that guy. Or great for Chuck Pagano when he came back. I hope it's Chuck Pagano. When he came back for the Colts, a guy beating cancer. I mean, that's awesome, right? Beat illness. But no, I don't root for other teams. But on the flip side, and what I have is my little list of people, because I was, as you know, I'm prior military, and I was on a submarine out on the West Coast, the USS Topeka, whoop, whoop, whoop. And I don't find myself rooting for teams for other people, but I find myself rooting for other people, because I've learned to trust certain people with my life and learn to respect them and love them as brothers and sometimes sisters. But I was on the submarines, which is most of the men. I do have one girl on my list, so whatever. So this list right here, these are all the teams, but then when we have a team of somebody that I know, I'm going to give them a shout out, because I hope that they're happy with how their team performs in the playoffs. So without further ado, the teams we have in the playoffs this year, 2012, that nobody guessed all the teams, so all you experts, whatever. You got Denver, the AFC first, Denver, the Patriots, the Bengals, the Ravens, Colts, and Texans. Now, didn't know too many big Denver Patriots fans. Really, actually, it's kind of funny. I didn't run into any of these people. I didn't run into any of these fans here. I think all my friends were all NFC people, now that I'm thinking about it. Well, forget it. If I think of somebody, I'll bring it up. And if I forgot you, then message me and yell at me. I don't care. NFC, though, you got Atlanta, San Fran, Minnesota, Green Bay, Washington, and Seattle. Now, my shout out for Atlanta is my boy Rod. You know who I'm talking about. We always talk trash. Rod is he's a Georgia Bulldog fan, and he's an Atlanta fan. This guy will be more than happy. I can just see him smiling if Atlanta wins the whole thing. So Rod, I hope your Atlanta Falcons do well. For San Fran, I got a shout out to my buddy Jello Jermaine. Jello has always been a San Fran fan, even when they stunk. So Jello, I hope your team does well in the playoffs too. Shake it up for them, and do your little dance if they win the whole thing. So good luck to you. Minnesota, I got two friends. One, I call her Swanee. I'm just using nicknames because I'm not going to use a full real name. That's just probably illegal or something. But Swanee and my buddy Arnez, always been Minnesota fans. They even got that like Minnesota kind of accent thing going sometimes, which is funny for people up there because they sound like they're Canadian, but they're not. So good luck to you guys with the Purple People Eaters. And good luck with Adrian Peterson. That guy is a beast. 9 yards away from breaking the record with a bum knee. It's kind of scary to see what he's going to do next year, but first you got to handle the Packers. Which brings me to the Packers. Actually, I'm going to give a shout out to my buddy Brian, aka the Angry Leprechaun. This dude would walk around, little guy with a cheese head and always eating brats and stuff. You knew the guy was from Wisconsin just by the stuff that he ate. But real Packers fan, so good luck to you, the little Angry Leprechaun. Didn't have too many Washington fans that I knew of, but then actually my sleeper team, and actually, you know, I'm really rooting for these guys as far as the people I knew, my buddy Eric and Knapp, two Seattle fans. And you don't run into Seattle fans, but these people have been pulling for Seattle even when they stunk too, because they've been stinking for a long time, and Seattle's really turning it on. So, you know what, I get happy when I see other fans that are like me but are their team. And, you know, these people here, you know, from especially Atlanta, San Fran, Minnesota, Green Bay, and Seattle. I mean, I know people that when we found out what the scores were, if we weren't able to watch the game, they'd be just as hyped up as me and going back and forth, talking trash, but it was in a good way. So, good luck to you guys in the playoffs. I don't know who's going to win the Super Bowl, and like I said, I don't really care too much because the Eagles aren't in it, so I don't root for other teams, but I'm going to root for my Navy family, for the people. I'm just rooting for them to be happy and hopefully that their team shows up and at least plays with some heart. Back with my Eagles, man, we're in a weird time right now, so I can't really finish this out until we have a little bit of a better direction, or I'm at least going to give until after the Super Bowl to give the Eagles some chance to do all their interviews. They're going to be interviewing Chip from Oregon, they're going to be interviewing McCoy, which I think is a good fit for the Eagles because he can bend his offense to whoever he has, which is part of our problem before. But Mike McCoy from Denver. We got the interim coach from the Colts coming. We have a guy from Syracuse potentially. I mean, we got a couple names that we got. Mike Nolan came, and he's from Atlanta, the defensive coordinator. We have a couple people on the horizon, and O'Brien's not going to be coaching the Eagles. He's going to stay in Penn State, and that's actually a pretty classy and good move that he should do, especially turn around that program. They got the whole sanction thing until 2017, and he probably made some promises to players that are choosing to play at Penn State through this time without the scholarships and all that mess. So I understand that move. It's probably a pretty classy move, and he'll probably be available after that clears up. Or he might be the next Joe Pa and stay there for like 300 years. You never know. But like I said, we got to get a direction, and the Eagles are in a transition time now. And it's been a long time since we've been through this, and who knows what's going to come out of that. So I always end with my Eagles, go Birds, but go Birds 2013, playing the last place schedule. And, man, hopefully we can do better than 4-12. That's embarrassing. Let's end on a high note. Let's look towards the future and what we're going to do. Go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly, on the road to victory.